And now, Arsenal fans face the greatest tension in the known universe, whether to be happy about the actual football or upset about the transfer rumors. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot Smith, blog on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Already getting the head shakes from Clive. I mean, we are 18 seconds in, and I've earned a head shake just with the intro. That's how you know we have a fantastic podcast lined up for you today. And we really, really do, because we're going to talk about what I thought was a much-needed vibes lifter at the Emirates in our final preseason tune-up. There's so much good to come from it. There's also some really interesting transfer discussions to be had, maybe not about a specific rumor, so to speak, but the idea that clubs are going for it. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what switch flipped. Maybe it's because there was international football tournament last summer and there isn't one this summer and there is one next summer, and so there's going to be this sort of every other summer approach to loading up. We'll see, but clubs seem to be going for it. And it could make for a very exciting season. And that's always a better time to win the treble on the exciting seasons. So I'm looking forward to it. I will let you know we had a blast. We did Friday Night Clive on Friday, which we do live now, because it wouldn't be Friday Night Clive if it wasn't live. We have a special dedicated theme song for that coming for this Friday Night Clive this week. We have the new season music debuting on Thursday. That's right. Every season we trash the music that you've come to love and replace it with music you will hate, only to come to love it, only to hate that we're getting rid of it the summer later. So that cycle begins anew. Our predictions come out on Thursday. That's right. We're going to have predictions from Clive and Tim and Paul and Scott and Matt. Giant Gooner will be in this season. And of course, Phil will have his predictions. For the first time ever, for patrons, we're going to share a prediction form so that you can get your predictions logged. And we'll maybe even do a little bit of a competition on who's most accurate with those predictions. Plus, we're going to do some statistical reporting on those predictions throughout the season. So that'll be fun to track. That's coming this week. Of course, we had an instant reaction. We will have those after every single game all season long. They are live, and then the recorded version comes out. We'd love to have you as part of that community using code AVP50 to get it for a couple of pounds and see what you think, or just to have you here. We're just excited to have you here. And Tim's been on holiday and Paul's been away. Everybody's going to be back. Phil's going to be doing a lot with us this season. We're going to make sure that we've got great stuff for you all season long. I'm very, very fired up about the season, and it's important that I emphasize this. The only reason I'm fired up is because we had a good preseason friendly on Saturday. And here to discuss that and why we shouldn't let it distract from the misery of the transfer window is Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hello. Good intro, mate. Good intro.
Mate, he says, being very American. Is it possible for us to have some fun about this friendly, or do we just need to gnash our teeth about transfers? Where are you? Are you trying to be happy, or are you trying to do the sensible thing and stay miserable?
Really enjoyed the friendly. And it was just completely different to Wednesday. Everything about it. We had a bounce in our step. The ground was brilliant, and the atmosphere is fantastic. Everyone's in a good mood, and it's a Saturday, makes a difference to a work day, you know. And so and you're watching the players that you thought, oh my God, do I recognise them? Have they lost it? And you realise that when they're not overtrained, they can actually still move about with a bit of sharp intent. And but okay, like any game, you're having a look and you're thinking, okay, results not important, but what are we trying to do? And I don't think we tried too many different things so far, but apart from maybe a bit more direct running on occasions. But this time, bang, within 5 minutes, you can see differences straight away. Different people staying in different areas, receiving the ball in first phase, fullbacks higher, just like in behind running. I'm just watching this dance across my eyes thinking, oh my God, I think I said, well, I did do a halftime IR, but it didn't come out very well. So I didn't send it. When I sent it, I said to myself, I don't care what the score is. I've already seen enough of movement and change of configurations. And that's the key thing, because it like triggers something in your brain to say, okay, we have other ways of playing. And I think that was a big part of the feedback from the Wednesday game. It looked very similar, and people were wondering, where are we? Do you know what I mean? And why are we doing this? And that was the discussion we had last week. But so straight away, within 5 minutes, we look much better.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's well said. So let's do this. I want to talk a little bit broadly about two things. And the first one, since the game was on Saturday, and that might as well have been in 1927, the way the news cycle works. Let's just do a transfer update real quick, because I think it leads to an interesting conversation with the season kicking off on Friday. Manchester City look like they may be moving on Grealish to Everton, McAtee,
James McAtee, yep.
To Forest.
Yep.
And then Savinho may be going to Spurs. I think, unfortunately, a good signing for them, a player who, at just 21, had a lot of exciting things that he did in his debut in the Premier League. A really clever deal that Manchester City executed to get him last summer from themselves, so they can pat themselves on the back for that. Already disposing of him, and the rumor is that it's because they want to go for not just Xavi Simons, who they want to hijack from Chelsea, but potentially Rodrigo as well. And it's not that I really want to take your temperature on, oh no, we can't get Rodrigo now. It's more, it feels like clubs are really going for it. Manchester United flexing some of that big club muscle this summer with Sesko and Mbumo, Cunha. Now it looks like they might want Baleba. City finally waking up a little bit, having done some business in January that was impressive. Now looking at potentially Siemens and Rodrigo and some turnover there. Obviously, everyone knows what Liverpool have done. We've spent a lot of money, and we may not be done. Mikel's comments after the match saying, let's see what happens in terms of where the squad is in the next few weeks. We are actively looking at options as well. There are a few players maybe that have to leave, so we'll be open to see what happens. Steve Parrish, by the way, on Eberechi Eze, said, players come and go in football club. It's a life cycle. Hopefully they're still here. That's what I'd like, but we'll see. Doesn't exactly sound like a player who's signed up for life. So there is a big push happening, Clive, and I can't remember a time where I felt like so many clubs that have resources were pushing their chips into the middle. Do you feel similarly?
Yeah, I think what's different, because people have spent it in the past, and what I think's different this season is it's been the transient nature of some of the movements and the inter-Premier League movements, and obviously the Saudi movements as well. And so people seem really prepared to sell, and so they can buy. And so there's been some big spends out there, but there's some big selling between Liverpool and Chelsea in particular, and City. They're prepared to turn people over, right? So we're not so good at doing that, and we're not so aggressive at doing that. We like our people, right? We keep them around and we try to work them, develop them, etc. You know, James McAtee kept Ethan out of the England team in the summer in the under-21s. City just said, nah, you're not for us. Ethan, we've got a new contract and he's here, right? And we're trying to play him alongside Martin Odegaard. We're different, right? So James McAtee's going to be a good player, but not what City want at the moment. They'd rather bank the 20 million into their PSR profit, right? So they can go and use it elsewhere and probably overpay for Rodrigo. And that's what they're prepared to do. And if that stops us getting him, they're prepared to do that, right? So I'm not sure which is right or wrong, but I do know one thing. If you stand still, you're going backwards. And teams are getting very smart, very aggressive. They use the same data sources. People are not buying dumb people anymore. But this is where I think, just want to go back to Wednesday again, it's not so easy to integrate people. And we saw that on Wednesday. If we got our units wrong, it did look a bit clunky. And we saw some things left yesterday at Liverpool that looked a bit clunky. I do think buying the players is great. It's exciting. They sign on, they do a video, then you have to play them. You know, and I think that's a bit, you know, and sometimes they're great straight away, and sometimes it takes a bit of time. You know, we've seen it ourselves quite clearly. The year when we bought Havertz, Rice, Timber and Raya, fantastic full signings in. We lose Timber, Raya transformed us. But the problem with finding Havertz's best position, the time it took, probably cost us something. You know? Yeah. And when we found it, we thought, oh, why don't we do that straight away? And people were shouting for it, but we wanted to work that through. And so it could happen to other people. That's me looking at the optimistic side. But when I see the names going to those clubs, you think, oh my God, they're all better than ours. Straight away before we even see them. You think they're better than ours. Oh my God, they're fantastic. But we need to see them on the grass and see what they look like.
Yeah, I find that if you start to think about how many clubs there are in the Premier League that are good, I'm not saying elite, but good, and maybe have designs on being a Champions League club in the season ahead. You know, and I realize some of the clubs I'm about to mention probably shouldn't have those designs, but I'm sure in their own mind they do. Obviously, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. That's 5. Villa, right? I think they would consider themselves a club that have those aspirations. Spurs, United. Whether they're ready to take that leap yet, they certainly have those aspirations. That's 8 clubs, any of whom would think they have some kind of right based on the size of the club they are, or the spending they've done, or the talent they've amassed, or prior results, that they have a right to be considered in the Champions League places, especially with 5 places now. Eight clubs. I mean, you could finish 8th and still have had a decent season where you just finished behind 7 better teams. It's gotten suddenly very competitive, and the stakes are very high, and you're not going to get there without really extending yourself financially. Now, some could say that that is a path to nowhere long term, that just having an endless escalation of the financial demands of staying in the top 8 of the Premier League is not a long-term recipe for success. And we all know what road that leads down, and I don't even want to invoke the name of the league that we're all thinking. Yeah. But it'll be very interesting to see. I do think it sets us up for, if you can step away from the Arsenal anxiety of it for just a moment, a really interesting season. And you could convince me, by the way, that Arsenal are more set up to win a competitive Premier League than a non-competitive Premier League. And what I mean by that is, I think we have been the best team over the last few seasons at playing against and beating good teams. I think everybody knows that we can get chinned because we may not always have quite the offensive firepower. But can these teams like City, that had a glass jaw last season, Liverpool, who we watched in the League Cup, maybe still have some issues at the back? They're the poorly drawn horse meme, but with the pretty horse up front and the maybe not so pretty horse at the back. Can they avoid getting chinned by decent teams? It'll be interesting to see. And so I just wanted to get your quick takeaways on that, Clive. The League Cup, the Community Shield, pardon me.
Sorry.
The Community Shield game, I thought it was played at a pretty high intensity. I think they went with largely first-team selections in terms of who was available. McAllister still being eased back, and Gravenberch not available because he had the birth of a child. But you watch Liverpool, and suddenly the thing that immediately floods into your mind is, it's not just about transfers, is it? Because in midfield, they look like they can be run through a bit. At the back, they've got 2 flying fullbacks who maybe aren't as focused on defending. They've got a center back superstar who is aging. And you look at the XG of that match and the chances that were created and the way they were vulnerable, and you see that, they're going to be very good, but maybe the transfers that they prioritized haven't fixed all their issues. So any quick takeaways from the Community Shield and your first chance to evaluate Liverpool in a pretty competitive fixture?
Yeah, every team's got a weakness, even Liverpool, right? So we all know their strengths. They transition really well. Salah never misses a shot. I think he's involved in over 50 goals last season. Incredible, right? So, but also we've seen the days when Salah doesn't play, and Liverpool tend not to do that well when he has a dead game, and he had one of those at the weekend. I think they try to push Frimpong high and tuck Salah in, which is the right thing to do when he's 106, look after his legs on the outside, but he never got the ball. Palace stood in those areas, never got the ball. And so suddenly, looking at his touches, you're thinking they're down. And of course, they play Curtis Jones. And okay, I'm not sure where McAllister is, but they sort of use Curtis Jones in a Henderson role in behind the right back, who's even more attacking than Trent. And so he goes high, and Curtis Jones tries to come across and cover that. But I'm sorry, Palace play a wing-back system, and Mitchell and Munoz, they're good players. They hold their position really, really well. Eze's on the inside. Sarr, I thought, was excellent. And they cause them problems. And Mateta really pins 2 centre-backs. So Crystal Palace, good side. I thought they really impressed me in the Emirates, Elliot. They really did stress me out, mate. They're switching it from side to side. A really good side. So it wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't a surprise to me to see Liverpool be attacked in their fullback areas. I said to you, they look so exciting going one way, and all the YouTube clips are great, but they're very small. And they don't want to be close to their goal. So what did Palace do? They kept switching into wide areas and forcing them to go back into their back line and getting them into a back 6. So if you get them into a back 6, you can keep them there. And so, every team's got no weaknesses. And when you see Virgil jumping out of his hole defensively, that tends to happen when you're not fit and you're looking for an offside, or you just go travelling and go fishing when you're not quite at your top level. He'll be fine in the rest of the season. But you can see already, looking at the screen, there's a massive dependency on Konate and Virgil to be absolutely 9 out of 10 every week. You know?
Yeah.
And we saw Spurs do 2 centre-back defending. Remember that? And they scored a lot of goals, but they didn't win many games because you can't keep leaving 2 people on their own because you will get picked off. And so I think Liverpool fans today will be thinking, we've got some teething problems. Performance-wise, they're still Liverpool. They're still going to go and invest in a forward and probably something else because they've sold a lot of players. But they've invested in a play style which has already been picked off by the first team. And don't think others are not watching that as well. So I find that really interesting.
You've always said something that I think is really worth remembering, which is because we watch every single one of our own games, including our preseason games, right? Including any open trainings that let us watch. We watch it all. We are so familiar with where our vulnerabilities are and where we're not good. I think one of the reasons you can finish second every season, get to a Champions League semifinal and still have fans say, oh, we're shit, is because we see every flaw. It's like when you look in the mirror and you look at yourself, you know where there's a blemish on the skin or a wrinkle coming in, right? Because you stare at yourself in a way that, maybe others don't stare at you. And it's not that others aren't analyzing Arsenal, but we know, the left back position, you can hit that space over the top of our left back and we can be vulnerable. Or sometimes we go around the houses. Well, you watch Liverpool and you realize you can play through their midfield. You can play down either flank. They're dependent on 2 center backs, one who doesn't stay fit and one who's 36 years old. They have vulnerabilities too. Now, look, to your point, they are going to be good, and they're going to be good because they're going to score a lot of goals. I thought Ekitike looked very good.
Okay.
For a guy who's just integrating.
Yeah.
I thought Florian Wirtz looked very good for a guy who's just integrating. Salah played within himself, but still had a chance. He, could have scored from the center of the box, just didn't hit it the way you expect him to. And they didn't have Gravenberch, who, whatever you think of Gravenberch, I think he is an important part of them being able to prevent teams from playing through them. So they're going to really need him. They needed a Zubimendi. They haven't gotten one, and maybe they will. But so that's an interesting point. But they're going to score goals, Clive. There's a lot of firepower there.
It's a good point about Salah, and people don't like to hear it, but some players just manage themselves through pre-season. They just need to get through the games. You could say that Saka has been doing that up to a point. Just get through the minutes. Don't do anything silly. Don't get yourself injured. Just get through the minutes. No one will care about this game in a few days' time. But they will care about if you miss the first 3 games of the season by doing something stupid, overextending yourself, not listening to your body. And so it comes back to the point, it's pre-season. We are preparing for the first game of the season, for the first 3 games, which are really tasty. Right? So yes, that's a good point on Salah. People don't think he's finished yet. He's not finished. I think he's got a broken season this season, which could be interesting. If I wanted to look deeply into him psychologically, he didn't look too happy on the pitch at any point in the game, But that club's been through something extraordinary, regarding grief-wise. So I'm not about to look at Liverpool and say why some people are not quite themselves. It's very, very early days, and let's see where we end up at the weekend.
Yeah, we should move on to talk about Arsenal, given that it's the ArsenalVision podcast. But the last point I'll make is I also looked at their bench, and you realize that they have really prioritized elite talent in their first 11, but they haven't left themselves a ton behind that. I mean, obviously, you sort of referenced Jota's tragic passing. Darwin Nunez is gone. Luis Diaz is gone. You look on the bench, there wasn't a ton there. Now, they had some play, they had Gravenberch missing, I guess, and that's probably about it. If they don't get Isak, especially, they're going to rely on a core group. And Slot has this history, I guess, of his players staying fit. But that seems like one of those things that could be correlation, not causation. Yeah. This is the Premier League. Salah's going to go off to the African Cup of Nations. Konate always has injury concerns.
In last year, his contract as well, Elliot.
Yeah.
So another contract.
So we'll see. I just think I think it was a fun reminder in a way that while they are good, of course, don't get me wrong, the transfer window makes you think that only the team that does the best transfers can win stuff. And then you see them on the pitch. And all of a sudden, as much as you still see their strengths, you still see their weaknesses as well.
Can I just say one last thing on that? They've gone a different approach up to now, where they've gone A-star quality, overpaying for young players. I shouldn't say overpaying, but paying well for young players. Moving out a 28-year-old in Diaz, getting good money for him, and bringing in a 23-year-old in Ekitike, and who's flexible, can play in those positions, smooth running, not bad player, right? And I think we'll get to know him a bit more. I've got my thoughts, but hey, look, it's game 1. And Wirtz, who again I think is a nice, tidy player, passes it, runs after it, really inventive. So they've 3 players have gone out of their front line, and only 2 have come in, right? So and so they're going to be looking at that. And defensively, they've got they only got Conor Bradley and Andy Robertson come back in on the outside, and Joe Gomez makes Tomiyasu look fit. Do you know what I mean? So he's always out, and so I think they've got real gaps there. And I'd be concerned, and I've read some Liverpool stuff today because they're smart fan groups, and they know this. They know this. So while we're all worried about them getting Isak, they're all worried about the back door because they can see the number of goals in pre-season. And I don't care who you are. If you're letting them in, it's a problem, right? You lose stability, You lose confidence. So.
And on the Palace side, as much as I think it's a wonderful team, and I like that team, and I like that story, and I'd love for them to stay together. I hope they don't stay together because I still want Eberechi and I still think he could solve a lot of problems for him with how clever he is around the box. He has the ability to do the thing that I actually think Martinelli could learn to do a bit, which is slow the game down intelligently to make the best decision. The way defenders stand off him, the way they're sort of afraid to get into him because he's going to beat them. He beats the first guy quickly and then slows it down again, makes the right choice. I love that player. He's so elegant. I will also say for nothing, Adam Wharton's going to make Crystal Palace a lot of money someday because he's got a unique skill set. And I can't remember an English midfielder quite like him. Yeah.
I think
have you ever seen an English midfielder more like that in terms of the way he breaks lines and
he's a passer.
Assists from his own half. He's incredible.
He's a passer, but I do think they leave him in spaces where he can get run about a little bit, and they gamble on that a little bit, and they give him passing targets. So you've got everyone standing next to him. He's got no targets, right? So they spread the pitch, and he gives him people to hit, and he's got a massive runner in front of him. He's got Eze and Sarr around him, so they got. And he's got wing-backs to hit. So he's got lovely targets. But, of course, once you get the ball off of him and you run at him, it's him and Hughes. The 2 of them, the sprint race wouldn't be great. Do you know what I mean? So like I say, everyone's got their weakness, isn't they? But if he gets on the ball, he's going out of his feet really, really quickly. And he's a nice player.
Yep. Okay, now we'll get to the Arsenal portion of the ArsenalVision podcast, 22 minutes in. Thanks for sticking with us this long. And just really quickly on the overall vibe shift, Clive. Look, preseason matters if you think it matters. It doesn't matter if you don't think it matters. Set that aside. It's nice when you can go into a season on an upbeat, on a high note. And this was a really good day. It was a good day for Gyokeres. It was a good day for Kai Havertz. It was a good day for tactical tweaks. It was a great day for Martin Zubimendi. The new signings looked good. Nani Madueke got out there and made a bit of an impact. We conceded 2 shots in the whole game. We scored 3 good goals with a variety in our play. We won the penalty shootout. I know it doesn't matter. I wanted everything to be positive on this day, right? No downsides, no negatives. Raya saved a penalty. There were some good penalties tucked away, and we go into the season on a positive. The Emirates was in good spirits. It was a sunny day. How important, if at all, do you think it is to get this vibe shift in the final preseason game to send us into the season on a high note?
Yeah, I went to both games earlier, and the first one was nice as well. I think we lacked a bit of efficiency, and Villarreal were very efficient, and so it looked worse than what it actually was. And we looked a bit leggy on the day. I can categorically tell you we weren't training in the morning on Saturday. We treated it like a match day because we looked springy, mate. We looked really springy. And it all felt good straight away. Everything seemed to come off. And I suppose, when you you can close your eyes and you can see Arsenal, you can see the times when we're playing against a low block, you think, it's exactly the same. We're not going to be able to change. As a manager, can he work with these new players? Is he tactically aware? Blah, blah, blah. And then we just rock up and do that. With our A-class midfield, we just rock up and they just go and get the ball wherever they like. Calafiori adds a bit of flow. Timber adds a bit of one-on-one, and he starts to dribble and carry. Steps in a couple of times. It doesn't matter. It's quite... And Saka just roaming inside and out, depending on where Timber is. Martinelli looked like a good balance with Rice, Calafiori, Martinelli on that left-hand side. He looked really, really good. Gyokeres spinning into those areas, forcing Martinelli to do something else rather than stand on the touchline. So he starts to roam out to win. My goodness, please, son, just go out to win. That's all you got to do. Because you're not a brilliant carrier, but you're a great runner. and you can smell stuff. Just start to run. I don't know how long I've been saying that. It's so clear to me. Just run in behind the centre forward, or cross over with him. Just move. You'll cause anyone a problem with your acceleration. And so the third goal really, really pleased me to see that the second goal really pleased me. The third goal shocked me. It was that good. So yeah, and you just see everything. One thing, obviously everyone notices everything now, so I'm not going to say one thing I noticed, but one thing I noticed was the switches of play. And then you say, and we stopped that, not fairly quickly, and we flipped shapes again in the second half. But mate, who are we playing at the weekend? We're playing Manchester United. What system do they have? A back three system. Where's the space? On the outside of centre backs. Get there quickly. Really quickly is what you need to do, because that's where the stress is. If you don't get there quickly, you're not going to pin their wing backs back. And so that switch out from Rice, that switch out from Zubimendi is going to cause them a problem massively with the centre forward that's running through. He's going to spin those three centre backs around, and I'm really interested to see how, if we do that against him. I probably saw in the first 15 minutes the team, or the way we played to play against Manchester United, and I think he just stopped that quite quickly. He doesn't want them to see that too long. And he went into other different shapes, which I thought Rice started to push on a bit more and press high. And I thought, yeah, okay. I got a feeling he had a trial run for the back three system. So I'm really pleased, mate. Really pleased to see the tactical diversity of what the manager put on show.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing some of the changes. So Art DeRocha had a couple of really good questions that he asked.
I saw the article. I haven't seen it yet.
Let me give you a couple of these quotes from Mikel. So the first thing he asked was Rice and Zubimendi's interchangeability something you were looking forward to seeing? Mikel said, quote, yeah, especially with the qualities they have and the way they can complement each other in that space. We saw another evolution today on that, and things the team can really benefit from to be more unpredictable and be much more threatening, especially from these inside positions. Speaking of evolution, Art asked, play's been a lot more direct. Was that something you were looking to evolve ahead of this season? Mikel said, quote, having threat from all areas of the pitch into the last line is a weapon we need to continue to develop. It can be from David Raya. It can be from the last line. It can be from people playing on the base. Today we had from many situations a feeling of, at any moment we can attack their backs and be very dangerous. And that will create a lot of space for others inside. You mentioned that. But I do want to get your take on, I don't want to call it a double pivot, but Rice and Zubimendi alternately dropping deep. Rice was sometimes picking up between the defenders. Zubimendi was as well. Less of Odegaard needing to do it, which I think will benefit him long term. And at times it almost looked like a bit of a box in midfield, Clive, where Rice and Zubimendi were at the base and Odegaard and Calafiori were at the top.
Yeah.
And Calafiori's movement around the pitch just, I think, creates confusion for people understanding who they have to track and where they have to be. So you want to maybe just expand a little on that tactical innovation, what that might open up for us?
Mate, you could see it. You could see it immediately. And when you start to see Rice drop to left back, remember the old Granit Xhaka stuff? I remember the first time I saw that, I never understood it because I was worried about him getting run on the outside. So I was worried about Xhaka left back thing. I understand it now about getting a +1 in the back line and getting a good passer there where he can distribute out from it. So tactically it works, but obviously you got to have somebody who can run because Saka got sent off at Liverpool, things like that, where he's left one-on-one. And so it doesn't always work. But then Zubimendi went into right back. And then you look where Timber is. He's up the road, right? He's up the road pushing onto the back line, sometimes outside of Saka. So Saka's inside. So when we transition, Saka's having the critical pass because he's inside, and I thought that was good, which means he can rest in a crowd scene a little bit. I'm keen to see how he rests, and I thought we used him really effectively, and so, but Calafiori, Elliot, he just makes things happen, mate. And there's an interview out there. It's got me thinking about him. Obviously, when he came and teams were after him, including Real Madrid, and I found that a bit shocking. Obviously, watched him in the Euros, like everybody did. Looked like an Arsenal player. We buy him, right? And then we all watch the video of him getting injured and think, oh, crikey, what have we got? As soon as he gets injured. So what have we got? So we look at our two buys, him and Mourinho, and wonder if we actually upgraded. But when he did play well, he really played well. And then on Saturday, he played really well. And there was an interview with him, and he spoke about being his versatility, and he literally said, I'd love to play in midfield. And it's just a one-on-one interview. We're all nerds. We watch everything. And that stayed with me. And, mate, he played in midfield. And
Yeah.
and the thing to watch with him, because he's a really good defender, but he's very dominant in the box, very dominant. So if you play centre-back in the 2, he's dominant inside. When he plays on the outside, he needs to be fit. And the reason why, he can do it, but you can't let your man turn. And so as soon as he's turned and he's out on an island, he's going to look a little bit strange running back in. But when he's fit, he doesn't let anyone turn. He just takes it off him on the front foot. And so that's we can always tell when he's not quite right, because he's a yard late. If he's a yard late, it's a running race backwards. But in this game, he was back. They weren't physically as good as us, so he could dominate when he was back in his back line. But when he flipped into midfield, it was not an issue for him. I mean, he was playing outside of the left foot cross-field passes to Saka. Who else does that if you're a centre-back or a fullback or a centre-back in the 3? His ability to play football is really, really high. He sees the game, feels the game, knows when to carry, knows when to pass and run, knows when to go tight, knows how to support and overlap a winger that's gone out wide for a cutback. He can shoot. He can go across to the other side, like he did when we played, was it PSV, was it? When he scored the 7th goal, wherever it was. And he can do the lot, and his talent is really, really high. And the difference between him and Miles at the moment, for me, and by the way, when Miles went to the Bernabeu, I didn't want anyone else but Miles to play in the Bernabeu. One-on-one wingers, he's very, very good at stopping them. But difference at the moment is the ball flows through Calafiori a lot more. So when you catch to him, it flows through. And I think we look more of a flow-based team, which is what we are. When Miles is getting that ball there, I think we become an events team. Free kicks are not always good. If you know what I mean, Elliot? We get them, but everything stops and people drop away. My message to him was just keep the ball moving, son. Keep it moving. Go through. Don't have to be an event every time. Keep it going through you so the team flows better. The Calafiori adds more flow to us. And but in one-on-one, Miles is a king, right? So that's where we are.
Yeah, and I think about Trent Alexander-Arnold in the sense that Trent had clear deficiencies in his game, areas where they had to compensate for things he wasn't elite at. But he was such a unique weapon for them, and they were clearly much better with him than without him.
Yeah.
So that's football. You balance those traits. Calafiori, in my mind, maybe still doesn't know exactly how to hold the defensive line all the time. I think his instincts about when to try to intercept or play front-footed versus when to drop aren't always exactly right, and he doesn't have the best recovery pace. But he does so many things that help us solve the biggest problem we have, which is predictability in our attack, ability to attack certain offensive zones that we tend to not always access and challenge defenses. He makes us harder to follow, which creates space for other players in the attack. So you find ways to use that, in my mind, and you worry less about what he can't do, and you emphasize what he can do. And by the way, that's a sign of a great coach. A great coach finds ways to emphasize the strengths of the players at his disposal in ways that don't emphasize their weaknesses. That's coaching. So,
mate, you said something great there about the Trent analogy, and you didn't emphasize it, but you should have done, because he has that level.
I didn't say it great, did I?
you should have emphasized it more, because it's true. If people want to understand the trade-off, what you have to do sometimes to get what you need to get, you got Gabriel behind you, then I'm prepared to take that trade-off. And what Mikel did.
And Rice at left 8.
I was about to
Rice,
say that.
Did you
when you see,
sorry, finish your thought. Yeah.
I was gonna say, when you see Rice around you, then you're free to go. And then you add Martinelli, who's our best defensive winger. Suddenly, your creative force is your left back. Do you know what I mean? And when he's got space, mate, forget the positional football and zones he should be in. He just takes about 3 or 4 zones and owns them, right? And paints a picture within them. It is really stunning to watch. And I know he was a Real Madrid level talent that we got, and we're trying to work into our team. He's a £42 million signing. This is not a kid although he's very, very young. He might have been a younger starter at the weekend, but he's not a kid. He's really experienced, and he is a super talent. And maybe we need to think about how to put him in an armchair so he gives us stuff that none of our other fullbacks can give us.
To your point on Rice, we had the perfect example of what we're talking about here. Rice played a corner. I think it was a short corner. and it went badly awry.
Yeah.
And Athletic started to break down the right-hand flank, their right-hand flank, our left-hand flank.
Yeah.
And Declan Rice did the best T-1000 Terminator impression I've ever seen in my life, right? By tracking that guy down, stalking him down and taking the ball off him, those giant legs just churning out yards.
Really...
And when you have that, you can use a little bit of different quality in the left defensive flank. You know,
absolutely.
Like you've got,
So he played a short corner, but his legs were dead tired, so he didn't get the touch of the ball. But Elliot, before then, he had a couple. He did a tackle in the game where he sort of picked up an injury, and so he looked like he was limping around a bit. And you're thinking, "Oh, come on, mate!" I'm saying to Mikel, in my own head, saying, "Get him off, get him off, get him off." He does that corner. I think he's not gonna be able to get back, and he just gets back. And you realise what's under the bonnet with these players. It's there. It's under the bonnet. It's just there. You just have to wait, and he's definitely got loads of gears.
And I'm going to say something that really hit me in this game because Nico Williams was in this game, which you may have forgotten because you didn't notice that he was playing. I think Scott posted out a stat, and I apologize to Scott because I might get it wrong. I looked for it, but I couldn't find it again. I think this preseason we've allowed 2.5 open play shots per 90.
Something like that. It might be 2.3, it might be, I think I remember.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, look, I think there were some defensive issues this preseason that popped up, but by and large, again, we're going to be good defensively. But this is what I wanted to say with the Nico Williams thing and with, Gyokeres and all those transfers. Football paints a picture out on the pitch of players doing what they can with the ball at their feet and in space. And when you see it out on the pitch, the picture is as clear as can be. But transfers are not the picture. And it would be no different than looking at jars of paints and saying, oh, I see the paints, I know what the picture is going to be. No, you don't. You know what paint is available, but you don't know the picture until the artist and the paints combine to make it. And so transfers get you focused on the paint, but football gets you focused on the picture.
Yeah.
We have a lot of paints, and then now we're getting to see the picture. The same is true of Liverpool. The Nico Williams thing just struck me, right? Because had we signed Nico Williams this summer, people would be over the moon. And by the way, he might absolutely be sensational for us. But he was very easily controlled on this day, right? So it's just a reminder that football can be very strange in that way, and that it's not just about the paint. It's about the picture. Now, I do want to talk about one jar of paint, though, which is Victor Gyokeres. This was our first chance. I'm going to speak like you, Clive. After the Villarreal game, I had the ump.
You had the ump?
I had the ump. Because I wanted to see him with our first choice, in quotes, first choice midfield. Well, we got to see him with our first choice midfield. We got to see him with more of a full 11 in this game. And I think the intelligence of the running and the nonstop movement, you start to see the picture a little bit. And then, of course, this is why football is so ironic. I think he scored 2 headed goals in his entire time in Portugal in the league. 2.
Yeah.
I think he has like 16 in his career going back to youth football. He scores a header and almost has a second diving header, and Kai Havertz scores a sprinting away beautiful solo goal where he bodies people and puts it into the corner with a beautiful finish. Football will surprise you every time you watch it. But I got it before we talk about brands, and I know people are itching to hear about them. I do want to get your thoughts on the first, I think, real breakout performance or first real dress rehearsal with Gyokeres with that first choice midfield behind him.
Yeah, so I sort of lift it up a level when I'm looking at things in preseason. I'm looking for things that I know I don't like or we don't do enough of, right? So running at the back line, running down the side, running through the back line. That's been my thing for a while now. We play in front of teams. The people are happy for us to play in front of teams. We don't move people around, so we don't look creative because we don't make running angles. Simple as that. So we don't create enough passing options. So we rely very much on the one creative passer we have to pass to our one creative scorer winger. And so to see Gyokeres come in, you don't give a monkey's meat. I run left, I run right. This is what I do. And then when the goalkeeper has it, I run at him in a straight line. And I just try to take it off him. And then I run back. And then when the ball comes to me, I'm normally going to lay it off in 1, maybe 2. To the guy on my left or right, depending who's in a good chance. And then I'm going to spin. And I'm going in behind him. And because he has such clarity about his game, and it's very easy for us to work out what to do when you're behind him. When someone is in front of you, you're not sure. And by the way, this can also work. We watched it with Gabriel Jesus. When he gets the ball, none of us knew what he was going to do. Because he's a winger playing centre forward. He receives it, comes back, twists and turns, twists someone boots. So he needs runners past him. Right? That's why Martinelli always looked good with him. So with Gyokeres, mate, just give it to me, son. I'm going down here. And when I don't get it, he turns around and lets people know. Which again, he's a man. He's not a kid, right? He's got sideburns. He's a man. And so we need this. We need this clarity because other people can see how they changed their game. And I thought Martinelli and Saka's game with him at the weekend was really quite strong, positionally and quite varied. I really enjoyed that. But that sprung from the fullback's positioning, and their positioning sprung from the Zubimendi and Rice positioning. So suddenly we have a whole new team with different configuration. And Gyokeres is just in there as a tip of the arrow, providing a real presence and threat on that back line. And so you look at it, and individual performances will come and go. It's pre-season. But you look at the intention of what we're trying to do, and honestly, mate, it was like cleaning your windows. It looks so lovely outside. Do you know what I mean? Suddenly it's so lovely and bright. And you're thinking, oh my God, when he gets fit, when he gets sharper, he won't make that decision in a month's time. He'll make a better decision because his brain will be on. He won't be scrambled. You know, and he's thinking, this is really promising, really promising. Again, the intention versus the execution and the result is what you want to see. The intention to move and run was far greater than Wednesday, where I felt we looked overtrained. It looked massively different, so different, and very positive, Elliot, really positive.
Which was more positive to you about Gyokeres' performance? The headed goal and the nearly second headed goal, the inside the box movement, or the absolutely sensational hold-up play for Saka's goal? Because it is a reminder, too, that when you analyze players, you can only analyze what they put on tape, so to speak, what the data says from where they were, but then they get in a new system and a new setup where they have opportunities to showcase different parts of their game. Yeah. All I heard from, people that had questions, and by the way, let me not say that way because that makes it sound like there's camps or agendas. All I heard as the potential question marks about Gyokeres were heading, which is fair. Like I said, 2-headed goals at Sporting, you're going to have questions. Well, I think some of that was answered, not that, to the extent you can answer in a preseason game. He showed he can do it. But then the other thing was hold-up play. And the hold-up play for Saka's goal is elite. And look at Odegaard. Flicks it forward, knowing Gyokeres is there, receives it with a right-footed volleyed touch to Odegaard, who plays it early first time to a Martinelli making an inside run. He reacts instinctively, gives it to Saka. It's a clean first-time finish. It's a beautiful goal, but it showcases another part of Gyokeres' game that maybe wasn't as highly regarded before he arrived.
And so Gyokeres, Mudryk, Sesko, probably the three players I've looked at the most. I don't think I've not seen a goal or something from him. Go back to the commentary days, and you could see straight away from them days, he would attack the ball with his head in the box. So once I've seen it, I know he can do it. So I did sort of say in the podcast a little while ago, he put the ball in front of him, he'll attack it, right? So, and that's what he'll do. Now, he's not a guy on the halfway line who's going to do, we call it top hats, Elliot. You top at it, like Kai Havertz. You go to the centre back and you top at it, flick it on, right? So he's not going to win those top hats, really, with the centre back right behind him. He's probably not going to win too many of the Mourinho type, standing still, jumping straight up in the air to win those sort of headers. But on the move, he's going to create space to head that ball in. If it requires a header, he's going to take it. If it requires a knee, he's going to take it. That's what I'm trying to say to you. A lot of his goal-scoring instincts comes from desire to attack the space. And so it's a type, and I thought on this goal, we were watching in the crowd, and he flashed in front of the defender, and everyone went, whoa, on the movement alone. And then you thought, well, that's got to go in because of the timing, and that's his skill. So the timing is his skill. Of arriving into the danger area and not hiding behind people, standing behind people, hoping they're going to make a mistake and get bits and pieces of them, create a problem. You would do the one run for the defender job and then go in front of him. But he knows where the joy is. He knows where the space is. And he's going to attack that space. If it needs a shoulder, it needs a head, he's going to do that. And so he is not a great header, but overall maybe. But when it counts, he's a great goal-scoring header, because that was a great goal. And the second one was, again, it wasn't a perfect cross for him, so he had to stoop for it to get it on the target. And so, again, that desire to score is really, it's hard to miss, mate, and very promising.
And I don't know if it's his running. I don't know if it's leaving him high. I don't know if it's a willingness to go long early. I don't know if it's Zubimendi effect. We'll get to that. But, we've already found Saka in behind and or isolated 1v1 more this preseason than I think we did at any point last season. And if we do that a lot, we're going to score a lot of goals because he cannot be stopped. He is now a player who can get to the byline anytime he wants, every time. Can't be stopped. And he hasn't even really started cutting inside yet. He's going to the byline a lot. Wait till he starts cutting inside too. So that's really exciting.
Yes.
I think
Can I hold you in that point a little bit longer? Just a little bit longer. The thing with Saka getting the ball a lot last year, I mean, I couldn't wait for him to get the ball. Just, because I just couldn't see any other way. And it's been out for 2 years now. But I think not only we were watching Saka do his stuff, I think some of his teammates were watching him do his stuff. And they're getting it, and he's like, go on then, do something. Okay, now I'm going to move. What we're doing, our movement is so much more proactive, and it's creating space for him because you have to manage our other movers. If you add that to that, which you probably just mentioned it, and I may have missed it. If you add to that the fact that we're getting it to him earlier on switch plays in this game, then hold on a minute, he becomes a different animal, mate. He becomes this guy. Could be, I'm going to say it here now before I say it in the prediction pod, there could be 25 goals in this guy this season. That's what, if we use him like we used in this game where he rested narrow on the transition and he's getting the ball one-on-ones, he hasn't got his shot off yet, he's travelling into the box for ricochets, he's travelling into the box, there's 25 goals in him. It could be the explosion year. I read something at this age, Salah was playing for Chelsea at this age, and he's about to sign another 4 or 5 year contract with us. And what are we, let's not pretend he was on his way last season. So we need it, but there's a player in there, I think, that sounds crazy, he's about to break out. That's what I think.
Yeah. He could be Bukayo Saka, breakout player candidate?
Yeah.
We'll see. I want to do a brief, I don't know, let's say like 50 or 60 minute section on Zubimendi. So that's important. I mean, what have we got on our hands there, speaking of talent? But it is definitely past due to tell you about brands. And we're loaded. We've got a new season. We've got all the best brands. They are all on board, and I'm excited to tell you about all of them. But the one I'm first going to tell you about is NordVPN. NordVPN is an app. You put it on your phone. You put it on your tablet. You put it on your computer. When you want to browse in the UK or the US or Australia or Japan or Brazil or wherever you want to browse, you click there and the computer acts like you're browsing there. The speeds are elite. You can look that up. There's speed tests, so you don't have to worry that it's going to downgrade the speed of your computer. And it comes with threat protection so that if you are watching a stream that might be on a website that might be trying to put things on your computer, it's going to protect you from that as well. If you want to watch the match reviews of the day show, but you don't live in the country where that's available for free, you just click like you're in that country and you watch it. You want to watch streaming services that have shows available that aren't available in your region, you click and you watch there. It is easy to use, and they have a fantastic offer for you with this podcast. And all you have to do is go to nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. That's nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. You're going to get a discount on your plan and 4 additional months. And there's a risk-free trial period. You can cancel anytime, so no hesitation whatsoever to do this. It's time to do it. Football season's the perfect time to try NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. Do it now. And Indeed is the hiring platform that lets you attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And one of the things you can do with Indeed is you can do sponsored jobs. And with sponsored jobs, your job jumps to the top of the page for relevant candidates. So the relevant candidates see your job, you see the relevant candidates. It makes a huge difference. According to their data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Look, it's getting harder than ever for employers to find the right talent, and also harder than ever for people looking for jobs to find the ones that fit them. Indeed is the site that lets those two people, the job that needs the right talent and the employee that needs the right job, to find each other. How fast is Indeed? In the minute we've been talking to, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Okay? And with sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscription, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed, and listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job for more visibility at Indeed.com/ArsenalVision. Just go to Indeed.com/ArsenalVision right now and support our show by saying you heard about this podcast heard about this Indeed on the podcast. Indeed.com/ArsenalVision in terms of supply hiring. Indeed is all you need. And Shopify is the e-commerce site that lets you build the perfect e-commerce website without having to know anything about building an e-commerce website. A few things I want you to know that it helps with. getting the checkout process done right. That's an important part of e-commerce. People want confidence and professionalism at that stage when they're ready to buy your product, and no one does it better than Shopify. They let you put your products on all the platforms. You can't sell products today if you're not also on Instagram or TikTok Shop or whatnot. You don't have to set those up individually. It does an integration for you. It handles shipping, it handles taxes, so you don't have to know much about running the business. You don't have to know anything about building the site. You just get some pictures of your product, write a description of your product, figure out what you want to sell it for, and let Shopify take it from there. I have used Shopify to build e-commerce sites that when you're done, you look at it and you're proud of it. You've built something that reflects the quality of the products you want to sell in the world. Okay. You can do it for $1 a month, by the way. So like that's what I would say. If you really just want to see, established in 2025 has a nice ring, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/ArsenalVision, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/ArsenalVision. Start selling to Shopify today. Shopify.com/ArsenalVision. Do now. And finally, this podcast is what do I have to say here? Let me say it the exact right way. This is an advertisement for BetterHelp. BetterHelp is therapy. Sure, it's online, but it's still therapy. And as someone who has done therapy, what I would say is I went to an office, I sat with a therapist, and we talked through things. And that helped me. It's a process I would recommend to everybody. But maybe you're like my mom, who has used therapy effectively her whole life, but now can no longer drive. You know, maybe you've suffered a disability and you need access to therapy to help with that, but you don't have the ability to get to the therapist's office in the way you need to. Maybe you don't have the confidence to go to a therapist's office or the time to get in the car and drive there and, spend the time in the office and then drive back. The resources, whatever the case may be. Therapy is something that we should just think of as a health plan in the same way we think about working out or eating right. And so if you want access to therapy that fits your time, that fits your life, that gives you the ability to start doing it, BetterHelp can make that happen. All right? There's over 5,000 therapists, even in the UK now, over 5,000 therapists in the UK. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, serving over 5 million people globally. Okay? As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/vision. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/vision. Clive, is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Nailed it. Okay, Clive, Martin Zubimendi. It's the meme. Thank you for saving my life. I'm literally Martin Zubimendi, right? It's that meme. I am so impressed by this player. I'm impressed by his elegance, his intelligence. He does that thing that the best players who are dual winners or tacklers do, which is when he recovers the ball, when he regains the ball, he does it with an intention of where the ball's going to go next. You know, he's one of those guys that can slide in or reach in and grab the ball, but in grabbing the ball, he immediately gives it to the next guy. It's first touch. It's so great to see. It's opening up the whole pitch for us, Clive, and I have so many notes from the game where a thing we did that was good started with the Zubimendi ball recovery or Zubimendi just distribution somewhere. So, I mean, I think we've seen him a lot now, but I think, boy, oh boy, does he make a difference, you know?
Yeah, again, it's about partnership and units, and I thought him and Rice just looked lovely together. They did in this game, really did. And sometimes when a player hits you at different paces, right? You know, you see it quicker. You know, you've always been talking about Eze to me, and I've always been a little bit cloudy on it. Do you know what I mean? Zubimendi, to be honest, I thought he was okay. But anyone who watched the Euros final, just watch it. If you just watch the clips again, and it's Declan Rice skipping past. And we just saw him run like a train in this game. So again, he has the ability to skip through space very, very quickly and move the ball on against Rice and Bellingham. And last time I looked, these two can run. Right, so yeah, he hit me then, and it's been a case of studying him and working out why he's so rubbish for his club team and why he looks so brilliant for Spain. It doesn't take long to work out. He's better with better players, so I was never worried about him coming to Arsenal at all. But the thing that I think he offers, obviously he can play football. He knows where to stand. We all know this stuff. We can all see the game. His support line running is excellent, and I loved his clip pass. Remember we did a scouting earlier? He's got the clip pass over the top, etc., which we needed, again, to threaten the back line. If those players know it's coming, they're going to start running. But there was just one thing I love seeing in this game that we don't do, and we haven't done last year, and we haven't done for many years, is that he plays the ball first time off his left foot out to the left side, which means it gives them a chance to get on their bike. We do lots of lovely stuff pushing to our right side, but we don't open up the left side of the pitch. And he's got all the clubs in both feet. He can chip it on his left foot. He can stroke it first time out to the wide areas, which when you have that possibility, what it does, Elliot, everybody ahead of the ball is now active. Do you know what I mean by that? They either stand next to somebody and know it's not coming. When they think it might come, they start to move. So they look active. So as a team, we don't look so one-sided. Do you see what I mean? And so it's it's all about the art of the possible. You know, so I thought, and I'm being somebody, I have to speak about him with conjunction with Rice in this game, because I thought they were perfect together. And I have been one of these people that looks at Rice as an 8 and says he's sensational. And some days when we're pressing, he's absolutely sensational. But I've also got to be honest and say, when he was behind the ball in this game, he looked unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, mate, unbelievable. So he's on the Ballon d'Or list, right? He's on the Premier League, top 6 list. So he's someone who can play 8. I think sometimes he's a bit high too early, if I'm honest with you, but he can play that role, particularly on the triangle, if you know what I mean. But then you have him slightly deeper, dropping into the back line, then coming in and changing positions continuously and rotating. He looked better. And he did that because he had somebody else who could read him and would go wherever he just left. So that in-game understanding, if you look at it together, if Rice decides to drop out in the middle, he goes in the middle. He goes higher and goes into the 8 position. If he looks at Timber and Timber's knocked off, he goes into right back. I love this. This is what changes us. This is what makes people think we don't look so stodgy and staid, because people trust each other in all different zones of the pitch. You bring Calafiori into that, and suddenly this team's transformed, right? On this particular day, Zubimendi got, 2 feet. That's what we haven't had. For whatever period since Santi Cazorla left, we haven't had that behind the ball. A 2-footed player that can open up both sides of the pitch. That, for me, is a major difference to what we've had with Jorginho, what we've had with Partey, what we've had with Rice, what we've had with Marino. We got somebody here that's 2-footed. I think that opens up the whole of the pitch.
Yeah, and he just goes where he can have the most impact and help the team the most. I mean, he had a back heel cutback from the byline in this game. Yeah. But he's dropping between center backs when he needs to. He just has tremendous pitch coverage, but he never looks like he's sprinting. And that just tells you that he reads the game. Yeah, he just reads the game. What a player. And, to your point about understanding players,
go ahead, mate.
It's why I think the right thing to do, always have an opinion. That's the fun of football. Always have an opinion.
Yeah. But
just hold it loosely so that when you get more information, you can update. You know what I mean? Because the thing that I think is interesting about Zubimendi, and Phil Costa tried to tell me this, Real Sociedad were not good. They had a really wonky system. He doesn't rate their manager, and he thinks that the way they play was not particularly intelligent. When you watch Zubimendi for Real Sociedad, you don't see much of the elegance or tactical innovation because, there's a lot of get the ball and give it long first time. It looks very helter-skelter. Then you watch him for Spain, you see a totally different player. But when you can watch full 90s of the guy in your shirt, you really start to understand, and I think he's going to make a huge impact for us. The distances just looked very good. I think it's great for Odegaard to stay higher. It's going to help our creativity to Gyokeres. And by the way, go ahead, Clive.
Yeah, we mustn't get wed to that though, Elliot. If the game decides that Odegaard needs to drop deeper and Rice and Zubimendi go higher, that's what we do. You know, what we mustn't do is take the snapshot of this game and think that's what we must always do. Because, by the way, in this game, we changed 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And some are more successful than the others. So there could be another game where he's having a stinker and Norgard comes on and provides exactly what we need for that game. Do you see what I mean? I just think we saw something that was really promising. But I think what we tend to do, we tend to do this. Well, that's it now. That's how we're going to play. But that's not how we're going to play. We need to have, I think Mikel said something after the game, we can solve many puzzles now. And that to me, once he's
that was in the quote that I gave you at the top of the pod. About the flexibility of the system.
Yeah. We can solve many puzzles now. I think that is the key thing. That's what every coach wants, to be able to look at a game, because they're really quick at seeing what the opposition is doing. Oh my God, they're so quick at doing it. They got people up in the stands on the old AirPods, and they just tell you what they're doing. And then basically they just change immediately. And normally Odegaard flicks that change, right? I don't know, and that stops it. That stops the advantage. If we can flick that change without making a sub, because we've got people who can stay in different areas of the pitch on that day and look really, really good, great. There could be another day when we've got the wrong personnel, we've got to make a change. Great. Can we make that change? Have we got the option to make that change because we've misread a situation on a particular day, or someone's having a stinker, someone's getting done, someone's having trouble tracking an area? What can we do to change it? And this is what we're trying to do. This is the way we've approached the season. We haven't gone the Verts, Etikike, Isak, probably. We haven't gone there. We've gone for king of the depth charts. Yeah, we look good on the depth chart right now. 3 or 4 sales to go, but we look really good. And we can do different things in that depth. And I think that's the way we've approached it. I think we've approached it as a far more of a strong, scheduled season that we suffered injury last year. And we want to de-risk that, have a level of quality and tactical flexibility with the group. And I think this approach will work. We don't realise it yet until we see the Champions League kicking. Then we soon will see how important it is to have a squad.
Yeah, I do think, though, that midfields make styles, midfields decide how games will be played out. Obviously, attackers decide if the goals go in, and defenders can make the difference in the last action of keeping the goals out. But how the style of the game is played and who winds up with the territorial dominance and the control of the game is decided by the midfield. And I don't see anyone who's going to have a better midfield than us this season and who's going to be able to control games in the way we want to control them. And, that's more of a continuation than a transformation. But I think it's going to be even clearer. What I think this is going to let us do, what Zubimendi is going to let us do, is the changes of possession are going to be more dangerous this season. I think when the ball changes possession, I think we're going to see the ball move quicker, and I think we're going to be more immediate.
Direct, yeah.
The direct is another.
You saw it in Milan. You saw the Milan game, didn't you? You put his first game, right?
Yeah.
You saw it.
Yeah.
It didn't last long because people weren't fit enough yet. But you could see the intention, couldn't you, in that game to be more direct? And that was my big takeaway from that game. You were in the stadium, right? So you can see the sprinting that Saka was doing. And so that, for me, seems like a message has gone in. And I think we're going to own the territory even more, hit the back line early, but we all know we can strangle a game, right? So it's what we do in transition, I think, is a big change.
By the way, I know we were just talking about Zubimendi, but I had a quote I wanted to give you for the Gyokeres section that I forgot to throw in there. So I'm just going to tell you what Mikel said about Gyokeres that I thought was great. Quote, he's a player that when you leave him with space 1 against 1, he's going to destroy you. And the reason I bring this up is because I think this is really interesting. Kai Havertz comes on, looks big, looks strong, looks fast, and scores that goal. So before I make my point here, because I think it's going to be one that you hate and don't want to talk about, I'll give you a chance to talk about something you prefer.
No, I don't mind.
No, you're going to hate it. Kai Havertz, it's one thing to say you think someone transformed their body, but you see him on the pitch and he just looks bigger to me. He just looks bigger and he looks stronger and he looks fitter. The burst he shows to get away for that goal, he's not favored to get away. It's a good touch to take it down. And then he uses his strength to hold off, and everybody says, oh, well, his problem is finishing. Well, that's as good a finish as they do. It reminds me of his Chelsea goal a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting situation, Clive, because Kai Havertz looks like a player who thinks he's got a fight on his hands, and he probably does a little bit, and he's not going down without swinging. So what do you make of that cameo? No better way to announce yourself to the manager than the goal he scored, that's for sure.
Yeah, you look around the pitch, you can see people trying to get in the side in it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. Noni Madueke was running about, mate. He was putting shoulders onto people. He was clipping it, running after it, going on the outside. He was lifting. The crowd were lifting him, very supportive. And Kai Havertz, when he made that run, I said to myself, at first I thought, well, who's that? Because I didn't know he had a player who could do that. And then as he got closer to me, it's on North Bank end, you realise he's Havertz, and then I had full confidence on his left foot on the left-hand side. He's got like a sickle of a left foot. He just strokes it into the corner. And he's done it a few times. Sheffield United comes to memory. He's got a great finish on that side of the pitch. But he looked very quick. He looked as quick as Gyokeres. And so Gyokeres has got a bit more of a pitter-patter running style, quick cadence. But Havertz covers that ground amazingly well. So we've now got 2, really good forwards. And what we're going to do, right? I don't think it matters immediately because they're going to both play almost every game. It just depends who starts, who finishes. And maybe they'll, on some days they may play together. Well, and that'll be interesting to see what that looks like, you know. So, but we've got two centre forwards now that look like they can play centre forward for Arsenal, and we know how to play with them. And I think Havertz adding, I'm not saying never ran in behind, but making that a priority for him and being able to do it and really work the side. Again, it gives us a target that's far more varied in position, which allows our wingers to move. I think that's really key. They need to be wing forwards, not touchline, chalk on boots wingers to just get booted and then the referee says, get up, mate. You're not going to get a card out there. You know, and then we need to change that scenario. And that's why, in some ways, the second goal really cheered me up a lot to see the two wingers 5 yards apart in the centre of the goal. That's fantastic, isn't it? You know, so yeah, upset and through in behind, lovely stuff, mate. This is really exciting, right? Let's see what we do next game. Think about football, is Elliot. Every time you think you cracked it, something goes wrong, right? So,
well. So now we get to have the quick conversation that you're not going to like. Mikel, on whether Gyokeres is the final piece, he said, well, it's certain he's going to add a different kind of threat and options to score goals from probably a situation that before we didn't have the opportunity to do so. So real value there for us. I am trying to parse every word. He's saying he's going to destroy you. That's pretty unequivocal language. He's saying he's going to create goals from situations, but then he says a different option for us. Because I'm trying to decide. There's a little part of me that thinks, don't overthink this, Elliot. He bought a striker. Victor Gyokeres is going to be our striker. And he's going to start at striker. And he's just going to score a mountain of goals. And Kai Havertz was bought to play a different role, wound up making striker his, and has been very, very good in that position when he's been used there. But we just went and bought a striker, and now we're going to play a striker. But I cannot, for the life of me, decide what I think, because I also know that Mikel adores Kai. We have only ever looked our best in the last couple seasons when Kai has been playing and playing up front. And I don't know that we're ready to just go away from that. So I get that you don't think in first 11s, but I do think you kind of have to know who your striker is. I really do believe that. And I don't think it's a case of horses for courses with strikers. I don't know that I've ever seen that be a super effective strategy. So I'm going to ask you to at least humor me, which is often what you do on this podcast, and give me your sense of how this positional battle plays out. Because I do think someone has to kind of take the position as the first choice option there.
why do you think that?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'll restate. I don't know that I believe striker is a position where you want to play horses for courses necessarily. I think strikers are players that get in veins of form. They become unstoppable. They feel themselves. They need the repetition of the ball at their feet, striking that ball into the back of the net. That's a thing that once they get going doing it, I think they can tend to get on runs of doing it. I'm not sure that it's a position, like asking a fullback to either overlap or tuck inside. I think it's a position where you really do need reps, so to speak, right? You need to be out there. I also think because they are quite different, the team needs to get familiarity and comfort playing the ball in behind versus not playing the ball in behind. And I don't know that switch you want to turn on and off, at least not until we've really developed a sort of muscle memory for how to play with Gyokeres, because I do think they're different styles. So I don't know that I like the idea of one day it's Kai and we're playing the feet and we're playing the ball to his head, and one day it's Gyoke and we're playing it in behind. Like, in theory, that could be really great, but I don't know that footballers can flip a switch like that as easily as we might want them to.
When we're playing Mourinho at centre forward, we know we can't run in behind, right? So it's there. When you got,
can we not play Mourinho at centre forward anymore? I mean, he did great, but
I'm sure he's going to get time options there on particular days to finish games. It's just the nature of the beast, mate. One little calf strain, mate, and someone's out for 2 weeks. So don't do it. So, and the thing is, Elliot, because this is it, you see. The way Kai walked into your room, he walked into your room as a midfielder. For me, he walked into the room as a midfielder who can play centre forward, and we should play him centre forward really quickly. His very first game, remember that Community Shield? I came out of the ground in an IR. I said, we found our European Cup final team right here. And it took us too long to get there, right? So we tried different things. We lost him for a while. And so for you, he's always been a midfielder type centre forward. He's now transformed his body, and he runs in behind now. So the gap between him and Gyokeres is not as wide stylistically as it would have been when the day he walked into the club. You know, it's a lot closer. So I do think we can find him. I do think he can run his channels. He's not as explosive, but he's as fast. And
he was on this day. That's for sure.
He's as fast. He doesn't look as explosive, but he covers. I bet if it's a race, he won't be much in it. You know, so over 40 yards, for example. And so, yeah, so we've managed to close the gap in profiles there. So I don't think it's as wide. I do think there will be horses for courses. This is his first season in the Premier League. We can't just expect him to play 55 games and just go and knock them off, right? It's just not going to happen. But we'll know, Elliot. Fortunately, we podcast every single week. And come the weekend, we look at the opposition that we're playing against. We'll say, you know what, mate, we need Gyokeres this game. You know, we need to, because the way they play, how aggressive they are on us, and we'll just know, you know, and it'll be obvious, you know. So my feeling is, until I know what's happening and to who's available on the wings, what system we're going to play, who we're playing against, I'd rather just see what happens. And eventually, as my line is always the same, the first 11 presents itself to you, and it's really obvious. We very rarely disagree on it massively because it just presents itself to us, you know. And this is why I never get het up about trying to select it. It'll be clear. At the weekend, I'll give you an example. I'm not sure if you can come on to Noni Madueke, but he came on. He came on.
For sure.
Martinelli had a decent half. He was working hard. A lot of the balls going to him, and the output was indifferent. I didn't like some of the decisions, particularly going on his left foot and kicking it past the near post. That offers nobody nothing apart from the ball boy gets a run. I don't want that, right? So I want far more output, but he showed a lot of promise in there as well. Madueke's on the sideline looking at that, and he said, right, let's go. Comes on half-time on the left-hand side, ups his intensity massively from the Wednesday game when he wasn't fit, massively going at people, driving at them on the inside, little 1-2s on the inside with Miles, banging, following his path, left foot crosses early. You notice some of our goals this pre-season, first time or second touch crosses or first time crosses, allows the striker to move effectively into the box, and he knows when the ball's coming, so he can flash and do his stuff. And now I'm thinking Old Trafford, I'm thinking, hold on, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to start, right? And he may decide, well, you know what, Madueke's not quite there yet for a full 90, so let me start at Martinelli, run their boots off, and then bring him on again, do the same thing. This is why I don't worry so much. You know, the good thing is, a week or so ago, mate, we got Sesko arriving at Manchester United. In our hearts, we watching Gyokeres, we're thinking, I hope we got the right one. You know what I mean? And so I think we have got the right one for Arsenal Football Club. I really do. And come Sunday, the old narrative will start, right? And we'll soon know. Yeah.
I don't think it's an accident. I don't think much is an accident with Mikel Arteta. I don't think it's an accident that Noni Madueke came on when the first choice midfield and the largely first choice group was out there. You know what I mean? I think that's a chance for him.
Before you go deep on that, Elliot, do you think, hold on, mate, he's had the least minutes. He's joined the club late. I need to give him some minutes on this pitch.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'm yes, for sure. But my point is, I don't think he could have been brought on 15 minutes later and, 5 minutes after that, Zubimendi comes off and so on and so forth.
Agreed.
My point is, I think Mikel brought him on when he did to make sure he could see him with that group.
That's a fair point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an accident, because I do think that there is very much a decision-making process happening about who is going to start on the left. I mean, Leo Trossard might have been the guy who was going to start on the left. I think he was playing that position pretty well, but injury or move or whatever we think is happening will probably prevent that for Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Martinelli, by the way, he was brilliant on the goal. He was brilliant on the goal that Saka scored, and he did some good things. But I do think Nani coming on at halftime, Clive, was a clear chance for Mikel to see him with that group, because in his mind, I do think he's looking at him to possibly start at Old Trafford. I really believe.
Yeah, I think, if you look at the team that started, I think I liked it. I like those players. Obviously, in the back line, Gabriel, who's just brilliant again. His second game in 4 or 5 months, and it's like, I'm back now. That's sorted out. And he starts leading the back line. Everything looks different. He's there. The one position is the left-hand side. And by the way, we've now got 2 players that can do it, And so I thought Martinelli was fine, not enough output. But Noni Madueke, I think the difference is, Elliot, he's physical. That's the difference. He really puts himself about and people move off of him. And that physical threat is a threat you have to look out for and manage. I'm not sure he's quite ready yet, but we've got 6-7 days for that game, right? So that's a lot of 1,000-metre sprint running. You know, he can get that done. So he could be a completely different athlete by the weekend, right? So they will know. 50-50 on the striker, 50-50 on the left winger. I'm not bothered. People can choose. See you in the comments. I'm not really worried. Long as our intention to play is the same. That's the key for me. The style, the intention, the rotations, the picking up different positions. I want to see it hit that back line. I want to see far less. There was one bit in the game. We know when Zubimendi did that back heel in the box. But before that, there was a chance for Odegaard to cross that ball, and he hesitated. And there was a big groan at my end, and Havertz threw his arms up, and he goes back out second phase, and then Zubimendi goes into the box. He does a back heel. We get a good shot off anyway. So I threw my thoughts away because we nearly scored, but we have to stop that. When the cross is there, take it. Why are we chopping back again? To try, just take the cross. We got people on the back post ready to attack it. Take it, So that directness of thought, that clarity of thought, as long as we keep doing that around the edge of the area, taking our shots, taking our crossing opportunities, attacking the space in front of defenders on crosses, and with a chance to go forward in transition, we commit to that run. If I see that, mate, happy days. The result will take care of itself. But at least we're showing the right intention to play. And by the way, Big Six games, we tend not to lose them. It's about time we start winning a lot more of them. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think as a final point here, Clive, I don't know that we've gone into a season like this where some of the really big positions still have to be figured out a little bit or haven't been nailed down in a while anyway. And so we've talked about the left-hand side and whether Nani might be the first choice in quotes there, or whether it'll be Martinelli for a while Nani gets up to speed. There's the striker position, obviously, but a sort of very interesting battle is developing at fullback on both sides.
Yeah.
Because Timber made himself undroppable, one of our players of the season last season at right back. Ben White has, I think, qualities going forward that maybe surpass what Timber offers, while probably, I think, almost clearly not providing as much defensive solidity. But, oh, by the way, let's not forget, Timber started his Arsenal career going over and playing at left back.
Yeah.
And we saw him do that in this game ahead of Miles. Right? So White came on and Timber moved over left before Miles came on. And, by the way, Calafiori, as we already discussed, adds something totally unique and exciting that we may very well need to solve some of our chance creation and goal-scoring threat challenges. So I find both fullback positions really fascinating, Clive, and I don't have a good feel for how it will play out. Against great teams, it wouldn't surprise me if we played White and Timber, or Timber and Miles. Against weaker teams, it wouldn't surprise me if we played White and Calafiori. I really don't know. Do you think it's going to be that fluid? What's your sense of how those battles will play out?
It's horses for courses, isn't it? Right? And this is what
is it though? Will it be?
Well, yeah. Because I tell you, mate, and this is when you're going up against Mbappe and Rodrigo. I'm thinking, okay, sprinty wingers and Vinny Jr. I want Miles and Timber to face them because it's a battle. And they don't get dribble past, right? And they proved it, right? When we're at home to Leeds on that it was Leeds the first home game, and we struggle against mid sometimes. We've had a few draws in these games. I want overlapping. I want runners. I want Calafiori up. To see I'm going, and it's a different game. I want to be able to arrive in areas people that don't care where they end up. To add an extra player into the back line to cause panic. Just basically, mate, I just want the options. Yeah. What I don't want is Kieran Tierney coming on left wing. That's what I don't want. I don't want a centre mid playing centre forward in a Champions League semi-final. No. That's the lesson we have to learn. We can now have a year of podcasting, hopefully with health and fitness, where we can have proper starting 11 debates. We haven't had that for a while now, mate, to be honest. The team, we're wondering who's going to play there. We've had centre mids playing at right back and centre mids playing at centre forward and judging them accordingly. But we've already lost, if that's the case, right? We've already messed up somewhere. We've already made a mistake or been unfortunate with injury. So hopefully now we can have a proper discussion like we're having today, before a competitive game even starts, about how we're going to play and who's going to play and who's best suited to play. And then see how correct we are, based on the quality and the depth that we have now potentially. These 4 fullbacks are incredible. All of them.
Yeah.
Really are. So and they can, 3 of them can play centre-back. So it's incredible to have that level of player profile in your back line.
And worth mentioning, by the way, that depth doesn't just extend to fullback, because at least as of right now, Kivior is still in the club and he played well last season. But this guy, Christian Mosquera,
oh my
boy,
God.
oh boy, does he look good. I mean, that's one of those signings we may not even be talking about much this season, because we'll be talking about Zubi and we'll be talking about Nani, we'll be talking about Gyokeres for sure. But over time, that's one that we might wind up feeling very good about. Yeah. We've just gotten so much better at this defensive recruitment thing. And I know it's become a meme where people are like, oh, Mikel just likes buying defenders or whatever. But I remember watching Pablo Marie and Shkodran Mustafi and Rob Holding and Callum Chambers and
defended all of them at
David Luiz and Socrates and Socrates and Silvestre. And I don't want to go on too much because I don't want to make anyone sick depending on when they're listening to this. But Clive, we shouldn't just completely overlook our ability the last few years to identify defensive talent and recruit it effectively.
But that's when we weren't a Champions League team. We are now for 3 years in a row, right? And it's been a while. We dropped away, mate, massively. We were a Europa League team, weren't we? And those were the players that took us through those tournaments. We didn't quite commit to those tournaments. We tried to get top 4, we kept missing it, right? So so we're a different team now. So I do think I was going to ask you a question about. Well, there's 2 things in my mind at the moment. Mosquera didn't take much to work out. Arsenal defender, left, right, can play right back. He just can play anywhere because he understands the fundamentals of defending one-on-one. Whether they go tight or running behind, he's super quick, mate. And he's only young. And once he picks up some dumbbells, everyone's in trouble because he won't be moved, right? So he's going to be a sensational player. And what a buy at 13 million. Norgard and Kepa and him, those 3 players, that's the value is fantastic, right? So I think he's gonna do something really, really good in those positions. But I'm wondering about Kivior actually, because I'm wondering if a couple of things. This is why preseason is important, not for the reason that people think it is. Mosquera's come in and they're thinking, okay, do we take a gamble to go with 7 defenders rather than 8? Take money for Kivior, because this guy can now play left centre-back, right centre-back. And we need to invest in him because we think it's going to be something. So we need to make sure he has minutes, right? So do we do that type of thing? And maybe that's a potential to really invest in the forward areas that we really would like to. And I wouldn't have said that at the start of the year. I said, no, I want 8 defenders, and Kivior's one of the 8. Maybe I'm changing my mind. And it's the same thing with the striker areas or the wing areas. Has Ethan and Max Downman's pre-season made people think, okay, do I think about the attacking areas a little bit? Because I've got something here that's percolating in those 2 players that are really starting to flicker and show things. What do I do in these areas? Do I get a multifunctional forward like an Eze who can fill in loads of areas? Or do I invest in a true, speedy, wide player? Obviously Rodrigo's in our minds, Leao. I saw a link to Malik Fofana today. I looked at him and thought, okay, I can see that working. Don't know the price. So, and I'm thinking, this is why pre-season's important. We saw what happened to Fabio Vieira last year. Ethan just kicked him out of the club, right? So, and he won't play for us again. He'll be gone, right? So I'm so interested to see what we land and how we land on it and how we invest in young players. We've seen other young players being sold, but we don't do that. We want them to play for us, right? So very important time coming up. Very interesting time. And I'm excited. I'm not depressed about it. If the City go and invest $1 trillion and do what they do, and Liverpool go and do what they do, there's nothing we can do. All we can do is try to make sure we are the best version of us and we're tactically flexible. And I think we saw the sparks of that at the weekend.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, Mikel even said, by the way, we have some players that need to leave, basically.
Yes, he never says that, does he?
He never says that.
Yeah.
So he said we'll be active in the market, and there are some players that need to leave.
Yeah.
So that those 2 things go hand in hand, and I do think that we've got this weird thing we do where we say we need to clear out the deadwood and we need to bring players in, but we never want to sell anybody.
Yeah.
Kivior, how can you let him go? He's important. Sometimes you have to let go guys that have value because that's how you get money for them. And the one reason I think we can potentially afford to move on Kivior is that Timber can play center back in both fullback positions. White can play center back and fullback. Calafiore can play center back and fullback, right? Christian Mosquera can play center back, probably off both sides, and right back. Yeah. And Miles, I think, is just a fullback. But, because of that, the tactical flexibility that you get, positional flexibility, I should say, with those players, you can probably afford to let one go and invest in the attack. So we'll see. All right, we got to get out of here, but I'm going to make you nail at least these colors to the mast. We have our prediction pod coming. We have a power rankings, a preseason power rankings episode with Tim coming. We have Friday Night Clive coming, and Friday Night Clive will be our preview episode for Old Trafford. Ooh. But I'm going to make you know your colors to the mast on the main pod today, and you can change it on Friday Night Clive if you need to. Who starts at striker and left wing at Old Trafford?
I've got a feeling the team that started the last game will start the game next week. So I think Gyokeres, I think it'd be Martinelli, and I think it'd be Calafiore and Timber. That's what I think, but I don't really care. And that's a great thing to say, isn't it? If White decide they want to go White, I don't think any of us will cry ourselves to sleep, will we? And if you go Havertz, I'm not worried. I know the other one's coming on. So I personally would like to smash games early a little bit more and to control game states. But to be honest, at Old Trafford, 76,000 people, 3 new forwards, they're going to fancy themselves. So I think we need to, if I'm Arsenal, I'm playing away from our goal, mate. I'm saying, we're going to turn you around. Because last time I looked, you still got Kobe Mainoo in the midfield. You got Bruno who goes where he wants. You might have Luke Shaw's left centre-back. Delete. Got to move these people about, mate. Move these bodies around. And one issue why I wasn't sure about Martinelli or Madueke is that Lenny Yoro plays right centre-back for them. And he's quite a good physical beast. He's growing, he's getting stronger. And I think you need to challenge him with somebody strong. This is why I'm 50-50 on the left winger. Because I want to hit him early and make Yoro jump around a little bit and look young. So that's why I'm thinking maybe Madueke comes in and Martinelli becomes the impact and skins them late on. That's where I am.
Yeah, that works for me. I do tend to think it's going to be the team that started against Athletic, and I'd be fine with that too. Let's leave it there. That's a nice long episode for you to keep you going on a Monday, but we'll have Power Rankings, we'll have Friday Night Clive, we'll have main pod on Thursday, which will be our season prediction pod. We're going to split that in 2, so there'll be Clive and Tim and Paul and Scott and Matt and Phil. Everybody's going to have the predictions. For patrons, you're going to be able to enter your predictions. We also have a fantasy league for patrons if you want to do that, and there'll be prizes for that as well. So lots going on to get you through the season. You can use code AVP50, a couple of quid, and you can try it out and see what you think. Clive, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My name's Elliot Smith. We love you, and here it is now. The first time of the season we get to say it when it matters. We will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Manchester United 0.